So behind the theme, today we'll be talking about command and colors again, and today we'll be talking about elephants and chariots. Now, Richard Borg has created command and colors ancients, and I think he simulates the elephants and the chariots very much so like how the experience, or as close as he can get in a more simple kind of war game, which has a lot of depth and of course theme. This is shown in game by the fact that the two units, alright, the chariot and the elephants, are very much more better on the attack than they are on defense. This is shown by the fact that they only have 2 blocks. It's a block war game, therefore each block is a hit. Think of it as that. And when all the hits are gone, the unit's dead. And there are bonuses, for example, for the chariots when they're on the attack, they hit with 4 dice. On defense, they hit with 3. So, and of course with elephants too, they can panic, as in most war games, and they are unreliable at best if they panic. Therefore, it's always good to keep them moving forward, to keep them within your enemy, and the important point of these units is to use them at the right time. But let's talk about the theme, and let's go into it now. The first thing let's talk about is the chariots. By the period of Richard Borg's Command Color Ancients, meaning the Greek period, all the way to the Roman period, and all of that, very much chariots were kind of being phased out. Now, the whole reason chariots came about is because of the Assyrian Empire and all. The horses they got from the steppes could not really carry people. Therefore, cavalry couldn't really be invented yet. Therefore, the next best thing was, of course, to make like a tank-like situation where 2 horses with a chariot. In fact, Assyrian chariots were known to be very, very heavy compared to like the Egyptian chariots. And you know, back in the time with the Egyptians and all of that, people were not ranked up. You know, ancient Egyptian battles with Tutmosis and all that, they would clump together, but they weren't standing rank to rank. You know, like in solid block. Therefore, when a chariot came in, it had space to maneuver, and therefore no one's going to stand right in front of a chariot, right? Therefore, it had space to maneuver. But as you can see later on, especially at the start with the Greek period, the Homer, for example, talking about the Iliad, in the period as people start to stand in rank and all, the chariots start to lose their effectiveness because they don't have the momentum. People can stop the momentum by being in rank. Alright, it doesn't have a free rein to go about and keep it going, basically, with chariots. And this is very clear, like I said, in Homer, where Homer talks about, if you read the Iliad, about several of the great heroes would ride into battle on a chariot, but when they got there, they got off. And like one historian's view on that is that just showed that how the chariot was basically being phased out. But at the same time, it was more of a status symbol, and top of that, it got the hero where he needed to be. So, you know, chariots were very much an impact force, meaning that either they used to eliminate what was left. Like when I play Command Colors, usually I use the chariots only to finish off units. Because the minute they stop moving, they're sitting ducks, especially for infantry. So let's move on to elephants. Now the famous thing about elephants is Caesar, during the civil wars with Pompey, famously did not use elephants because he found them unreliable. And I don't think he was far off the point. You know, elephants were very much by then, especially by Caesar's time, well known about how to deal with them and all. On top of it, they were very expensive. Just like the chariot I said before, more like a status symbol, but did they do a lot in battle? Not really. During the period when the Romans first met elephants, like with Pyrrhus of Epirus' invasion of Rome, that point when they first saw you imagine first time seeing an elephant in your life, thinking they're like if you see a real dragon, you know, yeah, it worked. But even at that period, the Romans still pretty much did very well. If you consider how we got the word Pyrrhic victory, alright, was because the Romans were shocked by the elephants, you know, and he just pulled ahead, but they still were able to fight them to almost a standstill almost every single time. So elephants from the start were effective, but not super effective, and there's for several reasons. One was the fact that you couldn't get that many of them. I mean, it took years, in fact a whole almost lifetime to raise an elephant, literally the elephant's lifetime. And the way they were trained, alright, was from childhood. There was a mahout in India, that's what they called them, who would stay with the elephant his whole life, so they got used to the person, alright? Remember, these elephants grow big enough, they can kill anything. It's just through this, you know, constant seeing of this person as like their father and all that, the elephant starts to listen and get used to human interaction, and then you put in a situation where you train this thing to fight. On top of that, you could only have male elephants in as war elephants because just a natural thing. Male elephants are solitary creatures that go around, and if you get in between them and their mating, they get really aggressive. So natural instinct of a female elephant is if it's charged by a male elephant, it will run away. Therefore, you could only ever have male elephants. So you could never really, like in cavalry, you could have, you know, it's not easy to breed and train these elephants. On top of that, it was temperament. You know, elephants were notorious, especially African elephants, for being very, very bad tempered. On top of that, you know, when the elephant was poked and stabbed and panics, it runs backwards. And, you know, the damage is bad, but not horrible compared to an elephant. To put it in perspective, think of this. If you were to drive a motorcycle backwards, and let's say there was a crowd behind you, you caused that much damage. Imagine if you took a bus and you did the same thing. That was the problem with elephants. When the elephant panics, it panics and it causes destruction for everybody around him. And there are several factors why they panic. One was the fact that if their mahout died, alright, there was no one to control them. Unlike a horse, you know, where most people could, I think in most history you can read that if a horse lost its rider, someone else could still jump on the horse and use it. Elephants not so. If it lost that lifelong partner of a mahout, you know, more likely than not, it's going to continue to panic. And this is shown pretty much in the fact, like in Command Colors, where if you leave the elephants in front and there's no way, you don't leave a retreat path for them in the game, they just keep retreating backward, and as I know, they cause damage after damage to your own troops. In one battle I played, I lost more troops to my own elephant than to the enemy. Thus showing that unreliability that Caesar was talking about elephants. And on a note, you know, if you read, after elephants got really introduced into the warfare of the Greeks and the successor, the Diadochi and all that, there were books, of course, and strategies talking about how you should deal with elephants. And one of the things they said was, of course, to hit them in the soft spots. Obvious, right? But one of them really seems mean but makes sense, is that you don't want to stand in front of an elephant and try to poke its eye. So what you do is you get behind the elephant and stab it with your pike, or the sarissa in that period, in its anal area. I know, it feels horrible, right? This poor animal. And you know, you gotta think of this poor thing. There's only one elephant and you've got hundreds of infantry just surrounding it, doing that to it, and then it panics, obviously. So the elephant is a great unit. It's very strong, it's very powerful, and it's also shown in game where if an elephant takes a hit, it doesn't take a sword hit. Alright, so it shows it can take a lot of damage. Alright, and it can deal a lot of damage. But the effects can be just as bad if it starts to panic on your side as with the enemy. Again, it's a very much more luck-based units. And also, you don't always have a lot of them. If you see a lot of Command Colors, but you only get a few, and probably one, I think two, the most I ever had in 2 units of elephants. And that's pretty much true, because elephants, like I said before, were really hard to get. I think one of the biggest influxes of war elephants, minus India itself, of course, was when Chandragupta, yes, that famous Indian leader, who fought and took over a lot of the, you know, satrapies in what was modern-day Pakistan. And he gave 500 war elephants to basically Seculus of the Sassanid Empire. Alright, and I think he married his daughter, although that one I'm not too sure of. So in conclusion, the chariot and the elephant, very much more in-game, just like I feel in real life, very much luck-based units. You know, they had to use in the perfect situations, and on top that you have to prepare. Like if you're using elephant in Command Colors, you usually have to leave a lane for them, but leaving a lane at the same time leaves a space for your enemy to get through. You know, and it breaks that line, which is so important in Command Colors. So I feel it really adds to that flavor and that theme of what commanders back then had to think about. So that's behind the theme. Thank you very much. Till next word.